27, 2023, Oconee County Rescue Squad Advisory Commission, call to order, 6 p.m. I'll be filling in for Chairman McCormick in his absence. Approval of the minutes for March 23rd. Everybody have time to look that over? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? No opposed. Public comment. Does not appear that there are any. Commission member comments. Commissioner McKelly is absent. Nothing to report. Commissioner Zahn.
Nothing, thank you.
Committee reports. Radio committee.
You can go right ahead.
We have not met. There has been some progress with the towers that we're going to be putting up. Most of it was mentioned in the Fire Service Advisory Commission. If anybody's went and watched that, it's really just a waiting period at this time. Director, do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay. Incentive committee?
We met and came to some conclusions about the 2023 incentives. Scott, were you going to report on that?
Yeah, basically, you'll get the email tomorrow. We'll be getting it out tomorrow with everything. It's virtually the same, except we are giving 20 incentive points to every chief for the paperwork and everything that they do to make sure everything is done on time, and the key being done on time. And that still means there's 50 points for other members that aren't responders for doing paperwork and stuff like that. So that's pretty much the only change that you'll see in the paperwork coming out.
Okay. SOG committee? We have not met since last month. We are still making some progress in it. Again, as we mentioned last month, we had that soft close of hopefully 4 months, and we've realized it's going to take a little bit longer. So once Chairman McCormick gets back, we're going to hold another meeting and try to continue this along. That's all we have for SOG. Training committee?
We did not meet this past month. We still have to bring to a vote, will be next month now, that the new responder document, since the VFIS class has been discussed and hopefully a go, if I understand, and we have checked on the EVRA course, and it is on the blackboard and accessible as long as people are in the fire portal. So we'll need to make sure that any responders who are not members of fire departments get in under the 37501 status, so that they can access that for just personal POV awareness or emergency response.
Okay. Mike Carroll's report.
All right, good evening, everybody. In front of you have the spreadsheet, grabs for the first quarter of 2023 calendar year. Basically, I did include dive and special rescue on that report. We still are, have some work to do on several of the squads. Looking against some members, I know some of the members of the squads who were in a below 50 percentile had some injuries that the people were out. So, other than that, a lot of calls over the last 3 months, January, February, March. Anybody have any questions? On the next item, the medications for EMT and EMRs. You'll see in front of you a draft SOG. I'm getting with the doc. This is the first cut. I rearranged some stuff on it today. I'm going to get back with the doctor on what the final outcome will be. But pretty much we asked for everything to stay the same. There were some requirements though for the personnel who will be doing this and having administration or the medications. Look over those. The main requirement is if the person's going to be active in the department and make at least 15% of their calls. And then, like you said, that's gonna be dependent on the squad, how many is 15% compared, if you look at the numbers of a squad that ran 42 calls over, or 82 calls over a month compared to squads that are running 150. It'll be adjusted, but that was given a number to show that we can get some participation. Just not be, you know, this is gonna be something where you feel like running a call, I'll feel like running this one. It's gonna be across the board participation in the calls. With that also said, we looked at deviation from the Prisma clinical operating guidelines. This is what I'm talking to the doc about. Administration of sublingual nitroglycerin. Their guidelines are pretty much set up for a person to have one, an IV in place, and also a 12 lead accomplished. We don't have that luxury. So boosting the minimum systolic blood pressure up to 100 to 110 for a person before they give the nitro. So that's what we're gonna talk more in depth on. And like I said, this is draft. Hopefully it'll be sent it out to him. And, get some conversation more on that. Quarterly reports. Everybody's been great. Reporting, make sure personnel are using the right ERS report to put your information on. We're still having people put rescue calls onto the fire reports. The OCES number is for the rescue squads and 21 staff. So remember to do that. It keeps it from people being duplicated on fire reports or on other reports. But it also keeps the fire department run numbers in line with their runs that they have. A lot of them use that. So pay attention to that call number. Quarterly reporting, getting in, updating your rosters. Like I said last time about the roll program, it's 80% of your active membership that has to take the training. So if you have a lot of people on your roster who are not active, honorary or just there because of honorarieship, move into that position. Active members is what we're getting to with the roll program. 80% of your active members have to receive the training to be part of the roll program. So quarterly reporting and your rosters are very important, keeping up to date. The last item, you take a look, there's a graphic, that's kind of like I'm gonna say a fake picture, but that was the graphic for the Mountain Breast truck that Diamond T sent us on the graphics coming out. This is a F2 or F-150 four-wheel drive unit that was purchased with this present fiscal year money to replace the 2012 F-250 that was totaled in the wreck. Worked with Chief Wilbanks and members up there. They want to keep it a non-topper unit, so it's a way we can get personnel and equipment into the trails for hikes, and it makes it a little bit easier to use. And then set it up. The only thing we have left is striping. It was next in line at Diamond T. Coming back, get lights installed, winch, and a couple other items. So I'd say it's be ready to go in probably about another month. All set. There's probably not sure how many sheriff's department vehicles are waiting in line to get the same process done. And unless you got any questions, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Director Crown, you got a question?
Is nitro the only medication?
No, it's the only deviation from their,
Oh, okay, thank you,
that's why it's highlighted.
thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, Director Crown.
All right, so, come to you, just to discuss the budget that was presented to council for the 2.9, which is the funds that the rescue squads and the fire departments received, of the special revenue fund. I want to just discuss that and where we're looking at and some of the changes. As you can see, a lot has gone up, and that's to include inflation and some of the costs that we're seeing with aging equipment. To start off, of course, maintenance on equipment, it's costing us more to fix stuff. And so we increase that with the projection of the continuing age in those. Telecommunication, of course, that is for GPSing and those communications, stuff that we're looking at for trying to do a better response. We all know that our 21 staff moves around, and if dispatch can know exactly where they're at, they can send the closest unit instead of just sending a unit. So that trial program is still up in operation, moving forward with some of that. But we have seen an increase in the amount because of more trucks and the cost of product to make that happen, as we start another phase of that trial to figure out which way we're gonna do that tying into dispatch. Of course, medical, physicals, the good part is, that's a two-part, account. There's also the same, more money than that in, the 10 fund, which is the general fund for the county. But, it did increase. We had more people get physicals last year, which is a good thing. At the same time, it's costing more. So, we had to increase that some more also. Buildings, maintenance and grounds, of course, we are taking over, or we have taken over SU4 maintenance and all of the, different things at the different, substations, and also we'll have Bounty Land coming in also at halfway through this year for any, unforeseen maintenance costs. Fuel oil and those, that is also the fuel oil and that is paid for any of the substations that are county-owned buildings, throughout the year. Electricity, the same thing there. Water and sewer, the same thing. Data processing, this is specifically because we will be going to a new data system. We will be moving away from ERS. And so, ERS, is gonna triple in cost. So we are looking for a vendor that helps us to do what we want to do. And to do that, we are actually going to have to pay for ERS for part of the year and also for the new system for the year. So we've added that, money there, plus there's money in the 10 fund, to accomplish that changeover as we move forward, into the new system that we will be, looking at and have been looking at. You have small equipment, radio equipment, and small capital AED. So, all of those are pieces of, some of that is radio equipment. So we have asked for a radio programming position, for emergency services to help us move forward into the digital age and finally help the radio committee finish that, project with someone that is knowledgeable and someone that can program and someone that can work with dispatch to kind of tie us all together, in technology as we come together. That is to help, that equipment, and also the equipment that is needed for the small, sub towers that will go up at Long Creek and Cleveland, to help some of our dead areas. So all that tied together to do that. Small capital AED, we have 100+ AEDs that we manage. I know Steve knows about all those, as he helped us for a long time, making sure they're updated and everything. But some of them, every time we send them in to get fixed, they come back unfixables. So we are starting a process to put a little money in to start replacing some of those over time, not just the squads, but actually some of those, that are out there, to update the whole process, as we move forward. If we don't fund it at some point, it's nowhere close to what it is, but when something disappears because of maintenance, we will have the money to actually, make sure that we can bring new AEDs in for that. Non-capital software, again, is a software, system that we're gonna be using to, get out information and move things forward to, basically allow stations to have a rolling screen of information coming in if they choose to go with theirs. But it's the base for that. So, it'll tie ERS together, it'll tie, rosters together, it'll tie, we're gonna do a bunch of reports on it, training reports and those, so that if you choose to do that, each squad or fire department would be able to tie into that, buy their own piece of that, and then you would get the strength. Building capital expense, again, this is still finishing up some of the, stuff that was never done at the substations that are out there. And making sure that that revenue continues to make sure we can finish, building out the processes that are out there and finishing those projects as they were never finished, for that. Burn building inspection, doesn't really affect the rescue squads, but some of, special rescue trains out there and everything. That building's starting to age, and it now requires an inspection, and we wanna make sure that $2 million building stays appropriately, fixed. And so that is, the inspection, for that, and then, the facility upgrades and those kind of things. There's a lot of stuff that needs to happen out at the burn building, and out at that facility for any of us to use, the training facility, any of the high angle stuff, the repairs on some of the railing up top for the rappelling situations, all that, that's what the training facility, upgrades will do, for that. The engine pump test and hose test, again, doesn't affect the squads, but it was put in there, for the pump testing of those, and each year we're increasing that to meet the whole amount. This year, we did not have to push that over, the remainder over, because of some excess with the air packs in those, but we were able to, so we're slowly increasing that to cover the cost of that service that is being provided. Big thing here for everyone, the rescue is the gasoline. There's $15,000 in there. This is the gasoline contingency. If we see a huge spike, one of those kind of things, I know Rescue One frequently asks, because of their volume of calls and all that they could use some fuel, incentives, as those calls go in. We don't know exactly how we're rolling that out. We're gonna see how the year goes and what the fuel does, as it goes through, but if we don't have a line item and don't have a tag in there, we can't provide anything. But I do see the ability to compensate for fuel costs, if your call volume is over a certain amount, or whatever we look at in that setting. It is not set in stone, but we wanted to make sure we captured that. Agency support, which is actually the next page, is still the same, as it goes through, and then also volunteer compensation, which is where incentive comes from, and we pay for the extra insurance, for responders, and those, that 200,000 is still intact. You can see the bottom line. We came up with the very top line from actually using the 2022 actual. Basically is what we came up with for the 1748 as we come through, looking at that. We have to keep a balance of this because the money doesn't come in immediately, so we have to have a balance so that we can immediately start writing you your quarterly checks and we can start paying bills. Any bit of revenue that comes in that we don't spend goes into that rollover. So if a vehicle is wrecked or one of those kind of things, it can help us in the interim to actually fund that. We can go to council and say, hey, we have this fund, we need to replace this due to an unforeseen catastrophic accident or something like that. So the goal is to basically have at least a half a year, which is basically where we're at right now, of that amount of rollover to where we can operate before the money starts coming back in. Because you get your tax bill and have to pay it before we actually start getting our tax money, and that's what money is being spent. Any questions? If you do know, the 10 fund budget was requested that some money be reduced, and so we do not have any of the finals on that yet, and that will be presented to council and then if there's any questions from what's presented to council, I'll be glad to answer questions, but I don't have those answers yet.
It's a lot to digest. I know in the fire service one, you said we can reach out to you anytime, so I
Yeah.
don't have any questions.
Yeah, please, if there's any questions, you know, I know it's the first time you saw it,
Yep.
you know, please don't hesitate to reach out. Discussion on our quarterly checks. Most of the rescue squads have been very good at getting the reports done and reports in and caught up and everything. But due to accounting and audits, we have to change the way we do quarterly checks a little bit. And until the paperwork is done, so when you turn in your quarterly stuff to Mike, he will get that to Cindy. Anything that is done before on Monday, Mike will be able to turn that in and we will get a check later that week. But presently, we cut all the quarterly checks and then when you do your paperwork, we hand you the check. Unfortunately, what is happening is some of the paperwork is not being done and those checks are getting delayed and then they don't get deposited and they go out of date. And then that out of date gets brought back to us after the budget year and it wasn't officially rolled. And accounting wise, it becomes a negative that doesn't ever get cleared and a positive that isn't there. And so we're not properly rolling the money from one year to the next for the auditors. And so we have to basically, when it's eligible for you, you'll get your check within the next week, once you get your paperwork in. So if you don't turn we have some cases, the check is run out before the people actually have their paperwork done. So, we have to go get the check issued again. Well, in case specifically when it rolls over a budget year, it causes the auditor's issue, because it was 1 year issued, it's 1 year's fund issued in the second year. So the other side of that too is we need you to deposit every fund, every check that you get immediately and within that budget, or within that quarter. We had some departments that held checks for whatever reason, and it wasn't just that they didn't do paperwork, they just held checks, and so they didn't deposit them in a timely manner, does the same thing, so, and then we have a check that's not valid, because it's outdated, so, we're gonna cut that check later, so that you don't run 2 or 3 weeks, and then get your check that is already that many days late. We will notify everyone when the checks come in, generally they'll be Friday. If we cut it for that week, they get cut Thursday or late Thursday, they sort them, and sometimes we get them late Thursday, and sometimes we get them Friday. So we're gonna say Friday of the week after you turn your paperwork in. It's a little bit more of a hassle, we're sorry about that, but we have to follow the auditor's requirements to make sure we stay in good graces, with all of that money and all the squads and departments getting their money, appropriately.
Has that process started already?
No, this quarter, the checks are written, that's gonna start next quarter, since we didn't tell you. So you should, I think we have them, how about that, if I'm not mistaken?
Rescue squads, yeah, wow.
Okay. Discussion regarding staffing. We all know staffing for everyone is an issue. We hope to hire some more people, we have some more hiring, scenarios coming up. But the biggest thing is bear with us. Most of the rescue squads don't ask much of us, and we appreciate that. And you do a good job. We do run a lot of calls, for the squads, but understand we are very thin. We have lots of openings specifically on the weekday 40-hour staff. We're trying to fill those, but, it is a never-ending, problem that we see, with our staffing issue. So, bear with our guys that are run ragged and overworked and sometimes working overtime and those to make sure we fill the shifts that we have to fill, to make sure that we can stay operational, for that. So, just give them a little grace sometimes, help them out whenever possible. Also, I frequently say, we can't do it without you. can't do it without us, we gotta work together, because it's about the citizen, it's about the person that calls 911 getting the best care and the best response that the county can provide them, for that. And then we already, discussed the incentive committee, and I will have that, sheet out, first thing tomorrow. I was finishing it up today. So we should have that, out to all the chiefs tomorrow and the commission tomorrow. That is all I have, if there's no question.
When you send that out to the chiefs, could we also be included
Yeah, I'll send it
in
to the
that?
commissioners too.
Any more questions?
i- Is the outlook of the helicopter insurance positive or negative?
I hope it's positive. We're working the budget with the cost in the amount that it is now. That is the biggest amount. It
4 times what it used to be?
it's 4 times what it used to be.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Any more questions? Thank you, Director. We're gonna move on to Rescue Squad updates. Region 1, Squads 1 and 3. I'll speak for Commissioner McCormick. He didn't have anything to note. Region 2, Squads 2 and 6.
I had one question that came up, from Chief Neighbors. The small engine repair person that Dwayne used to do, he used to go around and service the small engines. When he took the other position, did that leave that position open, or that's never been filled?
No, Honeycutt is the logistical person.
Okay,
The difference is Dwayne was a mechanic.
okay,
And so, the new logistics does not do the repairs.
okay,
We don't do the repairs in-house anymore.
okay. That was just a question, because that was easier sometimes for like generators and
Oh,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Chief Wilbanks didn't have anything that he had concerns about or anything, so.
Region 3, Squads 4 and 5. I sent an email out last Thursday to the chiefs with an update from last month and asking for anything for this month, and I did not receive anything back. Region 4, Squads 22, not present. Anybody have anything?
They did have, 5 new members. They went through EMR, all passed. They're getting their, 2 out of the 5 had their physicals. I haven't got the results from the other 3 yet, but the 2 are set up and active, and have set them up with another member to get them adjusted to running calls on what they need to do. Meet the requirements of being, for a new member.
Awesome. Region 5, Squads 7 and 8.
The only thing I know about is that we're hurting bad for members. Jumping back to the EMRs, we had a class down at Fairplay Fire Department where 3 members down there became certified, and 1 member from Oakway Fire was also in the class who became certified, so it's kind of nice to have a little help down the end of the county. As far as special and rescue dive is concerned, we're just, as usual, trying to get more people to run calls, catching up on equipment that needs replacing. We have a lot of very old equipment that we don't want members to use anymore because we feel it might be unsafe. PFDs especially. I think we're looking for by 35 of them right now.
Oh.
That's about it.
Thank you. Do I hear any reason to go into executive session? No? All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are.
Okay.
Thank you.